Well, it's ironic, you know. You look at these coaches, and then you look at what I do. I'm a captain on a crab boat, and there's a lot of parallels there. You know, the idea that you've got these talented individuals that do a job that there's not a whole lot of people can do, and you got to deal with their egos and their personalities. And I mean, look at the NFL. You know, I'm a Steeler fan. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. Easy. Don't hold that against me. I mean, we're running out of fingers for rings here. We're on stairway to 7. We're on stairway to 7, dude. You know, you look at Tomlin. He's a badass. I know the guy. He commands respect, but I just read in the news today, what's this character, Martavius Bryant? This sumbitch can't leave the shit alone. He's got to be into I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's on multiple drug charges or something. I mean, these people are supposed to be, you know, they're supposed to be the images. They're supposed to be the things that motivate children and people and they get an outrageous salary to do this, and they just, you know, they can't get it together. It's kind of the same thing with the crews we have on the boat. So I think little Johnny Football ought to come up in October and work on deck for me one season. I'll take that smart-ass shit out of him, and then he'll end up going back, and he'll work for any team in the NFL because he'll know how to keep his mouth shut and do his job.
There you go, Johnny Manziel. I hope you heard that. Captain Wild Bill is inviting you up to Alaska to do a little crabbing. I've seen him straighten out a lot of men, and I think he can help you. Hey guys, this is Tom Stokes from Sports Plus, and we're going beyond the tweets today with one of the stars from Deadliest Cats, Captain Wild Bill. He's somewhere in Alaska right now off the Bering Sea, waiting to unload some crabs, he was telling me earlier, and we decided to start recording, and we jumped in there. I'm glad to have you, and thanks for listening. We'll come right back to Captain Bill after this.
And now, a sneak peek at the new season of Deadliest Catch.
I got faith in this year. It's going to be a good year.
It's officially my boat. I want to have the chances that everybody else has.
It's either them or us. We're going to show the world what we're made of.
Life's a set of hurdles. Next hurdle's catching the crab.
We're going to cook the out of Jay.
Spank him a little bit.
Games begin.
I'm really upset with him.
There's a lot of money at stake, and we want to be the best. That's all up to the weather.
Hopefully El Nino doesn't kick her.
El Nino, son of a...
Whoa, look at that.
Engine room now.
Yeah!
Look at that!
This is one of the best king crabs I've had in the last decade, and you're not gonna get up.
The life I had is gone. They don't see that I'm imploding.
Deadliest Catch, new season, coming in March.
We're talking Cowboys and Steelers. Of course, Captain Bill's a Steelers fan, and, you know, that's okay. I mean, he's pretty cool, and we'll give him a Cowboy Nation pass. Cowboys made a big statement today, Captain Bill, and they said Jerry Jones came out and said that he's no way interested in Johnny Football. I'm no way interested in Johnny Football. That's my best impression. That's the only impression I do. What do you think, Captain Bill?
Yeah, and I'm surprised the Cowboys didn't have striped uniforms with their roster. But you know, the little son of a bitch, his problem is PhD. He's got a PhD. Parents have dough. He's never had to answer to anybody, and I'm telling you, he needs to come up here and work one season on deck. And I'll bet you that some bitch could throw the hook like a wingman. You know, if he can throw a football like he does. You know, this is the pros. This isn't college, but I bet you could throw the throwing hook pretty well on deck. So, and I wouldn't even put him in the bait bin. If he shows up, I'd let him on the rail, let him throw the hook, see what that arm could do.
I would love to see that. It must be disappointing though when you're out there at sea, Captain, and you're dependent on men to help your team win, and they just flake out on you, and they can't do it, and they want to go home.
Yeah, if we don't catch crab, we don't make any money. So. I have a 5-man deck. If one guy falls through, I've lost 20% of my workforce. So it's a big deal. And, you know, the show's kind of a win-lose. Everybody watches it, and they think, oh, this is all so exciting. What you don't see on the show are the hours and hours and days of just the continuous grind, what it takes to put this crab aboard. You see the highlights. You see the highs and the lows. And you get these clowns that want a job. They think it's like Disneyland. You're taller and goofy, you come for a ride. But in actuality, it's a commitment. You know, you come up here, and if we don't catch, we don't make any money. And People don't understand that, and there's no room for error. We're in town right now, and one of the hardest things is keeping the guys in check. And that's where I'd put the collar on little Johnny Football, because I got some pretty outgoing boys, and it's pretty much a stare and a growl to keep them in check. And every once in a while you let them off the leash to, blow off a little steam, but you got to have the respect of the captain and or the coach. And for some reason, for being as short as he is, he doesn't have a lot of respect for a lot of people.
Well, you think he suffers from the short man syndrome? Got a little Napoleon thing going on there, maybe? Bro, listen, he's got issues. So, you're right. He has no respect for others, but, Captain, he doesn't respect himself. And it's been my experience, because I understand this, but when you don't respect yourself, have no respect for yourself, it's really hard to respect others.
I just don't understand why, with as much talent that he has, somebody can't get him and get him in check. He's a young kid. He comes from Bill. He's got a crazy talent. Why can't somebody funnel that into what it should be? Why can't somebody grab him around the neck, give him a couple backhanders, and say, hey, focus, dude. You're supposed to be an idol for these kids across the country. They want to aspire to, if they work hard and they play hard and they train, they can play football and, make a career in the NFL or, get their way paid through college. And you make a mockery out of it because you come from so much money that all you give a shit about is having a good time and partying.
I got a feeling that he's been enabled more than once in his life when it comes to bullshit that he's gotten himself into, Nobody's ever put the iron fist down, so to speak. And reports are showing that he's like bar hopping all over the country. Vegas, L.A., Dallas. I mean, come on, man. I mean, your team just cut you. Your agent fired himself. You got this stuff with your ex-girlfriend. Give it a break.
And I don't really hold that against him, but you got to be able to do both. You got to do your job and have fun. And if you can't separate the two, eliminate the one that doesn't make you money.
Yeah, it's just very disappointing,
It's a waste of talent, it's a mockery of what the NFL should be. But, and again, I don't envy any of these coaches. You look at all this stuff going on, there have been some tremendous players that have had similar attitudes and similar dispositions over the years that, it just takes away from their, not throwing them. Look at T.O. T.O. was an amazing player, but God, the guy was always in crap. Nobody liked hanging with him. The list is long, but it's a shame this kid's fallen under the same category. And I often wondered that his style from playing ball in Texas would translate to the NFL. He's taken care of that. He's eliminated. What's he had, 8 starts? The fewest starts for, I don't know. The guy drives me crazy to watch him and hear about him. But I'm asking little Johnny Football to come up grab season, and then he can go, he'll learn how to shut up and do his job, and then he can go home and be an NFL player.
Well, you think back to the Steelers and Cowboys of the 70s, Captain. Even the 80s and 90s. All we had to go on back in those days were hearsay. Like, hey, man, I hear there's a place called the White House where the Cowboys go to party after games. Today we have camera phones that are attached to social media. You can't do anything without somebody recording it and telling the world what you're doing. And look, he's not the first player to go out and want to have a good time. And like you said, you can't knock him for that. But it has affected his game and now apparently his future.
No, I know. It's a different era. The football came first, and it wasn't like those guys didn't have a good time. Frenchie Fuqua used to have goldfish in the heels of his platform shoes. Come on. These guys partied when they were off the field. But they did the job. They maintained the image of being the professional athlete. Professional is a key word. And it's not too late for this kid. Somebody just needs to take the reins and just say, hey, get on the bus or get off the bus. One or the other, and the problem is when I hire crew members, the last thing I really want to hire is a guy that has like a family business to fall back on or something, because they're going to want to quit when they do this. This is a crazy job. It's one of the hardest things you'd ever do. And if somebody has something to fall back on, AKA Johnny, with the family money, they don't care. And as soon as it gets tough, they throw their hands up and say, you know what? I don't need to do this. I can go back and just collect the check, And that's exactly what he's got going on.
Who inspired you, Captain Bill, to be who you are today?
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, so it was Mr. Rogers. That's my management skills come from Mr. Rogers' demeanor. I always worry about. No, I'm kidding. My dad was an ex-Marine. My dad was an ex-Marine Corps drill instructor, and he was meaner than a wet cat. And he always taught me that, nobody is going to do anything for you if you don't do it yourself. It's never going to get done. And I didn't realize what he was doing, being so mean to me as a kid, but it made me who I am today, which some people think I'm a prick. So I guess he got his point across.
Right? That's good, man. So, it worked out. So you joined the Navy, you out in the West Coast, and then what happened? How did you get to Alaska, man?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird story. I was supposed to go to college for business administration, and on homecoming night, I wrecked my dad's brand new Buick Deuce and a quarter, still had the sticker on the window, ran it through a cemetery at 60 miles an hour, blew up 13 tombstones, and hit an oak tree where they had to use a crane to pick it up. And my dad, being the kind, cold, collective soul that he was, I stayed away from him for the weekend and joined the Navy on Monday to get out of town to be, to keep from getting killed.
Wow.
So that's how I got to the West Coast.
Wow.
I got to the West Coast and worked my way from San Diego up to Seattle. And while in Seattle, I ran into a guy playing pool that had a wad full of hundreds. I asked him if he was a criminal, and he said no, he was a crab fisherman, which is kind of synonymous. And I said, I want to do this, and the rest is history. I've been doing this since 78, 79, so
wow.
I'm one of the older guys left in the fleet. But
yeah,
where a lot of guys were investing in boats, I invested in ex-wives for a few years, and now that's all behind. So I just bought a boat the other day. I just bought a crab boat the other day.
Well, I certainly can relate to the ex-wife investments. Congratulations on the new boat, man. That's a pretty big deal. Did you get a chance to name it yet? And what can fans look forward to, Captain Bill, for this upcoming season of Deadliest Catch?
Yeah, it's to be announced, and this is kind of a spoiler alert here, but Discovery's still, we haven't worked it into the show yet, but we got some great airtime this year. The show airs on the 29th. Might as well get that out there. We got the new show comes out the 29th of this month.
The 12th season.
And they keep raising the bar. It's going to be a really cool season. They have a camera on a helicopter that costs more than a helicopter. I mean, some of the stuff they do is amazing.
Yeah, very amazing, man. I mean, Tom Beers is a creative genius. That guy has big, big vision. Those out there that are listening that don't know who Tom Beers is, he's the guy behind Deadliest Catch, yes. But in my opinion, he's also the guy that saved Discovery Channel about 16, 17 years ago with a guy named Jesse James. He's built a great team around himself. And, bro, listen, I watched the show, and when I see a camera guy on deck, I get worried. I think he's going to go overboard as well. So being a camera guy on that boat has got to be just as dangerous as being a deck man. Wouldn't you think, Captain Bill?
It's actually more dangerous. Those guys, it's amazing we haven't killed anybody because they're not trained professionals as a commercial fisherman. And where my guys are negotiating the deck with all their peripheral vision and the ability to look around, these guys are running around deck with a camera in their face looking through it.
You got to make sure that these guys are on point 24/7. So it makes sense when, I see you yelling at somebody to make sure they got their shit together because one wrong move, man, and somebody could die. Let me ask you this. Speaking of that, how does one get on board with you? I mean, how does somebody get hired as a crew member? Is there an interview process, online application, human resource manager? I mean, what's the process?
Well, for me, the perfect crew member doesn't have a driver's license because of DUIs. He owes back child support, and he doesn't have any kind of family business to fall back on. He's pretty much a destitute son of a bitch that needs to work and doesn't care about being in jail with a chance of drowning. That's kind of what I look for.
Well, back in the day, that would have been me. I would have been your first choice, Captain.
No, it used to be, it's funny, in the old days, one of the best ways to get a job was wrestlers, because the training that goes on, a high school, college wrestler, your ability to, be quick on your feet and low center of gravity. I mean, that was always really high on a list of credentials to get on the boat. But This thing's changed. I mean, back in the 70s, we made rock star money. I mean, it was crazy, and now the government's involved. They take bits and pieces, but you know, in the I don't know what you in 7 months in '88, I made like $288,000 on deck. It was crazy, and that was real dough then. That was rock star dough. We don't, you know, wine, women, and song. Rest of it I pissed away, but I wouldn't change it for the world. You know, the life I've led. I'm just paying for it now. I'm just paying for my retirement now. But it was rock star living at its finest. But we killed a lot of people in the early days. You know, there's a lot of new implements, safety implements. So we don't kill as many. It wasn't called Deadliest Catch for a reason. You know, we had the highest death rate per capita than any job in the world for the longest time, and I'm happy to say I think we've given that up.
Listen, that's one of the great things about this show. I mean, Deadliest Catch really puts you on the deck with these guys. And yeah, come on. I mean, many people tune in for many reasons, but probably the number one reason is to see who may get killed this week. Same reason they tune in to NASCAR, Captain Bill.
I refer to crab fishing as NASCAR at 9 knots because everybody watches it for that same reason. They say that they're a fan of the driver, but they want to see those cars on the roof, and they want to see the steel and the sparks, and it's the same thing here. They're just waiting for somebody to take one in the mug, or, you know, it's the same deal. And it's funny, a lot of the NASCAR guys really like the show. I mean, I've become a kind of a buddy with Dale.
That's very cool. You know, Dale Jr. had some big shoes to fill, and I think he's done a great job.
Well, I mean, my hat's off to the guy, and it's funny. His father was an amazing man, and Dale's been introduced to my son, and I think he can really relate to my son because, you know, I've been at this a long time, and Dale's dad was about as hardcore as they come, so there's a weird relationship or a recognition between Dale and my son, Zach, and it's funny, we were at his house for a barbecue one time, and Zach, my son, ticked me off as he does all the time, and I barked at him pretty hard, and Dale and Amy were like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. It was pretty funny. And looking back at it, I get it. You know, he was reflecting on his dad and, you know, looking at me, how I was treating my son. And I took it to heart, too. You know, I mean, Dale's a smart guy. He didn't get where he is being a pushover.
Captain, I know you don't get a lot of time out there to watch TV, but do you keep up with the current Steelers?
You know, I've been to the last 3 training camps. I follow as much as I can. What's sad is the football season, most of it, we're on the boat working. And I do keep it in my heart being a Steeler fan. I don't know the roster like I used to, but it's pretty rewarding. I mean, I've gone to training camp, and when players come off the field during practice to say hello and just say, you know, hey, we watched the show and it's an inspiration and thanks for coming by. It's you know, the being on the show it gives us a voice that people listen to. You know, Discovery's not the best paying outfit on the planet, but you know, it's opened a lot of doors and taken me a lot of places, and I'm proud to be part of it. And they do a better job every year with the show. The guys from Original Productions raise the bar every season, and Discovery demands more and more from them. And it's, you know, they put out a great show, and like I say, I'm proud to be part of it. And the new season should be every bit as good, if not better, than all the ones that preceded it. So looking forward to the new one.